Hello, everyone. This is Hollywood Junket. My name is Craig Ries, and also we have.
Mia Gomez. Hey guys. Thanks for joining.
Yes. Thank you. Yes. And together, this is very exciting. We're actually going to recap the latest episode, which if you haven't seen it, obviously there's going to be some spoilers, so be aware. And then in a minute or two, we've actually got another contestant from DONDI Island to join us for some more questions, and that is Shell Wooten. She'll be joining us.
Craig, I was at the edge of my seat last night. How are you feeling about these final moments in Deal or No Deal Island?
It's nuts. And what I want to say right away that I love about it the most is it's so much different from last year's competition. So like I wasn't expecting to last night's episode get down to the two, and then obviously it was going to be a cliffhanger. It always is. But next week our winner will move on to the deal game, and I guess I wasn't expecting that. I guess I thought we'd have three finalists for next week still or something. So last night was exhilarating.
It really was. And you know what? I was not expecting, guys, spoiler alert, I was not
Yes.
expecting Parvati to go home.
No.
I thought it was going to be
How
Letty.
she wasn't up for elimination nine times in a row. Nine times. And then the one time which she chose to play the banker, and we'll get into that for sure. But then she's home. And yeah, she was definitely one of my faves, for sure. I fell in love with her in Traders, actually. So that's how I knew Parvati, but it was really cool to have her on this season.
Yeah, she's really strategic. And the minute I saw that they were kind of doing what kind of excursion they were doing, I'm like, okay, Parvati's already gone. Who's next? I'm like, oh, it's got to be CK. She's burned so many bridges. I'm like, there's no way. Now it all comes down to David's case. Like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, and let's talk about that last excursion. I mean, I never would have guessed bringing past contestants back, eliminated contestants back, that would define how you place or well, actually how what your time was in this race. Brilliant.
I know. I guess the moral of the story is you never know when you're going to need somebody again. So try not to burn a bridge. I get it's a game. Everybody wants a piece of the pie, but try and do it a little bit friendlier. What really got me, Craig, is that Seychelle, she had CK get down. I was screaming. And then Seychelle played CK pretty well because she's like, all right, I'm going to help you. And then at the end, she goes, oh, I threw my back out. Sorry. And
She had me rolling last night. I wrote it down too. She told David too, like she was like, "Why didn't I become part of the family? Wasn't I the cool like aunt or something?" She said it perfectly. I won't even like get close to saying it as funny as she did, but oh, she was hilarious. Let's go back to Parvati real quick. If she would have made top three, do you think she would have had just as difficult a time as CK did with some of her like let's call them enemies? Or because she's such a smooth talker, do you think she could have maybe convinced some people that she wronged to help her out in that final excursion?
no, that's a good point. I mean, I think she's very charming. I think she has a way with the words. I think she's very strategic. I think she probably would have been out.
Yeah.
Yeah, she probably still would have been out, definitely, if she had been in place of CK during the final excursion. She would have been out.
I think she could have convinced more people to help her, but I still
Yeah.
think every contestant at this point in their head wanted Letty and David in the finale.
Yeah.
I was Team Letty from the beginning, so I'm very excited today and
Yeah.
excited for next week's finale.
Like Letty got screwed over by her two alliances basically like toward the end of the game. Like when Dixon didn't choose her during the excursion in episode 9. And then again, when Phillip, I love Phillip though, by the way, didn't put David in the bottom when he had the chance in episode 10. So we got to see. I mean, is Phillip going to come through for this final episode? I mean,
What do you think?
here's the thing. I think Phillip is such a good person. I think he's going to take the high road. And I do think he gave David the high case. But I don't know because when David came out, he's like, trying to be buddy buddy, which is a good plan. I saw Philip's face. And if you
Oh,
take a glance at his face, he was like, just really hurt. You could tell he was
yeah.
really hurt. What's your thoughts on this?
I'm with you too. I think he gave him the high case because I wanted to think he took the higher road. but I honestly would be okay if he didn't.
Same. Yeah,
Like,
same. Yeah.
I kind of want him not to, honestly, because then that's gonna keep my girl Letty out of it. But um, I think you're right. I think he did, which would mean David's going to the finale.
Yeah.
And how crazy that Dr. Will basically made him admit that he was on a past Survivor show, and then he continued to tell everyone along that path. Like, so cool. Speaking of one of those people on that path, LaShawn, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you guys doing?
So good. My voice just went really high. That means I'm very excited. So
I'm excited too.
You look stunning, Lachelle. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to chat with y'all.
we're so excited to have you back. And yeah, you look great. And we have lots of questions. We were just recapping a little bit about our opinions on the show. But let's dive in and see what we can get out of you before we have to let you go.
Sure.
Okay, so yeah, we were talking about the cases last night and how past contestants came back to help with that last excursion. You kind of
Yes.
like played this kind of gray area where you wouldn't tell people exactly what the cases were. You would just kind of be like, this is the low one, or that's a good choice. What was your reasoning behind that?
Well, it was clear for me at that point that I was not going to be the final person to play the banker. So I still need millions of dollars. And so for me, I just didn't want to have the fate of any person's possibility of getting to the end to play the banker in my hands. So what I decided was, I was like, I'm going to tell them what the low case is. Like, no one's going to get the low case. And then you can pick from the last two that are there, which would either be the medium or the high, right? I'm like, I'm just going to let you guys take your fate into your own hand because, as you could see, everyone was sort of like, should I trust this person? Should I not? I feel like everyone trusted me, which is great, but I didn't want to play a part in tripping someone up in their fate and what direction they were going in. So I was like, I'm just going to eliminate the worst one and let them take it from there.
Definitely. And then we noticed that Letty needed your high case, of course. She was the reason you went home ultimately. Was that intentional? What were you feeling during that moment in the excursion?
I mean, I was fine. I felt like I played a really good game. I had a lot of fun. I was myself completely throughout the entire game. And I really felt like the story is written, right? Fate is fate. So I didn't have any animosity towards Letty. I mean, I personally had more favoritism towards David and CK because CK and I kind of bonded from the very beginning. Like when we were taking the boat to the island, we were sat next to each other. We had a great conversation, and she was so good to me the whole time. And then David, who was also a very genuine person, we lived in the same dome. So I got to know him even more than anyone outside of it. So of the three, CK and David were my two that I would have preferred to win. But I had nothing. I still didn't want to influence it.
Yeah. Honestly, I didn't think about this, so you just said it, but I like the way you did it because I really think this whole game is both 50%, let's say, talent and
Yep.
50% luck, because when you face the dealer, it's all luck. There's no
It's
strategy.
100% luck.
Yeah. And the way you did it kind of made it more of a luck spot in that game, which is awesome. So
Yeah, I'm like, let me just put luck on your side, right?
yeah,
Like I'm gonna
let luck decide.
let luck
Yeah,
decide. I
yeah,
don't want to be the one. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. That's very cool.
Thank you.
In CK, she kept skating by, as we saw, like throughout the whole competition. And she did ultimately end up in the top three, but she had a bum knee. She had a pretty bad knee, unfortunately. Now, each week, everyone kept discussing, kind of trying to take her out. What happened behind that? Can you give us a little tea or insight?
It's so funny. Let me tell you, every week people were discussing taking everyone out. Everyone was like, we have to get the family out. We have to get CK out. Nobody got anybody out. I was like, guys, I was never in a position of power to get rid of any of those people. Like I was literally up for elimination almost every round, right? So I never had the opportunity to be like, well, if I can negotiate, I'm going to get rid of the bigger power, more powerful players. To me, that made sense. But part of it was, I really think we were in a game of real competitors.
Mm.
And it's if you're a real competitor, you want to win against real competitors. You don't really want to win because it's just you and a few people who really don't seem like they have the upper hand in this game. So for me, I couldn't figure it out. When I'm in the game, I'm like, you could get rid of David. Why aren't you getting rid of David? Like, I love David, but at the same time, I'm like, he's physically a huge threat and he's doing well. You could get rid of Parvati was never up for getting rid of, like, never, right? Except for the like this last episode. Other than that, she was never available. But Lete could have been gotten rid of. I don't see why people didn't. Dixon could have gotten rid of, but I see why they didn't get rid of him because physically, no one thought he was a threat,
Right.
right? He's small, but he was killing it in the challenges, right? He was fast, he was nimble, he was meeting all the challenges. So for me, behind the scenes, what I was deducing was you guys really want to play against the strongest competitors. And as much as you complain, when you have a chance to get rid of them, you don't. So I don't know.
Yeah.
It felt like the Olympics.
Yes.
It really did. And some of those excursions were insane. You guys all did so well. I'm just like, oh my goodness, I wouldn't last 0.5 seconds in any of those excursions.
Listen, I don't know if you guys know this, but I accidentally ended up on this show. And so I had zero preparation for like really understanding what they would put us through, even though I realized like what they did season 1 was totally different than season 2. But I was not saying, let me go get on this reality TV show and fling my body through the jungle. I literally saw an ad during the first season that said, if you want to be on the show, go to this website. So I went to the website only because I was like, what kind of questions do they ask? And so in order to answer the questions, you have to like answer one and then hit next. So I'm just putting in trash, total trash. And then one of the buttons says next, and it says, thanks for your submission. And so I was like, but I didn't think anything of it. This was months after the show had aired. I knew I put like ridiculousness in there. And I also figured nobody's going to see this. And even if they did, they would know, oh, this person was playing around. Well, obviously, you see how that went.
Wow.
I know. So I didn't have this sort of like workout, let me get ready. No, no. It was like, we're leaving in a few weeks. Let's go.
Did you even watch last season?
Well, I did once they were like, we're going to bring you here because we think you'll be on the show. I was like, well, let me really watch the season.
Yeah, let me figure out what I just got myself into.
And when I watched it, I was like, what did I get myself into?
Let me follow up with a quick another CK question. Do you happen to remember what case she picked from you? Was it low, high, or medium?
Yes.
Yeah.
CK picked my high case.
Okay.
The only person who didn't pick the high case from me was Lete. She actually picked my medium case. CK picked my high case and David picked my high case. And CK had it harder than the two of them because I realized what I said to CK was, you tell me what case you want and I'll tell you if it's a no-go. I didn't even say this is not, don't take this one, right? And so she picked the high and David picked the high.
And you were like,
for her, it was the timing. For her, it was the timing. All of her challenges with each competitor, which kept her there, and they were like talking, and you saw Seychelle made her grovel and kiss her feet. Like all of that ate up time, right? Because it was also a timed competition.
Yeah.
You know, so that, and then also Will did not help her at first with the water scooping thing, right? He let her go it on her own for a little while, then he joined in. So for her, it was timing.
Absolutely.
It was. And I'm imagining that Dr. Will probably was helping her because he was on that third part.
Yep.
He was probably like, yeah, she's already past Letty's time. Let's go and
well,
like.
you know what also is funny? Because Will and I were on the same, they moved us around for each competitor, right? So when we were there for CK, Will was like, I don't like that she cheated and I'm not going to help. And then she's there scooping and he looked at me like, I feel bad. And so I just looked at him like, well, and he's like, okay, I'm going to help. So he did in the end. But, he's got a good heart. He is literally the master of chaos, but he really has a good heart. And it was hard for him to stand there and not help her in some way.
Yes, I'd be the same way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we have a couple more. Let's try to see if we can make these out. Yeah.
Absolutely. So, in Parvati's deal game, the $1 was brought back. That
No.
was, kind of a negative. Well, it was a negative gesture and should have
Yes.
basically been kind of like a sign for Parvati. If you were in her shoes, would you
Yes.
have accepted that offer with the $1?
No. And here's why. Because I had already been in her shoes, right? But
Mhm.
looking at it, because I wasn't there for when she played that. I was already gone, right? But looking at it last night and understanding what I do, I would have just played it all the way out to the end. I may have even, well, no one ever did this, but I think you had the option to switch cases. Like if there's one case there,
Oh,
that's how the original game was. The original game was
Right.
when it was one case and you had one case, you had a final option to switch cases and take your luck switching. Now, here's the thing. I don't recall them ever telling us that, but I still feel like it was an option no one ever used. Most people didn't even get to the point where there was only one case left.
Right.
But if I were her and she lost all those high cases so quickly, I would have just played it to the bitter end.
yeah.
Yeah, I would have just played it to the bitter end. I mean, there was only one more case to go for.
It's so funny because I saw the dollar as being like kind of cheeky. So I
It
was like,
was. To me, it
oh,
was
she
like the
should.
banker. The
Yeah.
banker was like, yeah,
So I was thinking she should go for it because
yep,
it's like a wink wink kind of situation. But I
yep.
can see the opposite of being like, we don't want that dollar again. It was so annoying to say such and such and such and
It
such
was sort of an
$1.
energy, like a mess your energy up kind of a thing.
Yes, it
And
did.
also when I tell you there are zero wink winks in this game,
Mm.
Really?
zero. It's insane. Kamari and Ben are up there with the cases. And when I tell you no one knows what's in those things, there's like, it's like the award show. There's some dude deep in the jungle placing all of these things in, locking the cases, and they all come together and they just sit them. No one knows. Like, even production is in the back, like, ooh, like you can hear them. And they're like, ooh, oh, like no one knows. So there is no wink, wink. There's no
Yeah.
like, oh, Joe's chuckling. Maybe we know something. It is pure luck. Let me tell you how much is not a wink, wink. When I was eliminated, when you're finished, they have to interview you right away. As they're interviewing me, like with the camera in the jungle with the
Yeah.
producers are crying.
Wow.
They're like, oh no, you're leaving. I mean, you become like family. So
Yeah.
I'm telling you, people have zero idea. They're like biting their nails just watching this game.
Wow, that's insane. It's so cool to see kind of how this all works behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Let's
Very.
talk about Phillip, shall we, Craig?
Yes.
Yes.
I love Phillip. He is
So do
actually
I.
he's so genuine and so sweet. What are your thoughts on Phillip? Do you think he came through for Letty?
Well, what's so funny? Phillip is such like a
Yeah.
genuinely like honest human who wants the best for everyone that even when Letty was saying, which was interesting to me because when I was there, I couldn't hear. She was like, make sure you mess up other people, right? And I'm like, yeah, I can't do it. And Phillip certainly can't do it. So I think Phillip, he said, we'll see what happens. He said, this is the high case. He said it to each person,
Mhm.
right? And it was a matter of if you trusted him or not.
Yeah.
And I don't think that he did anything to give Letty an advantage. He did the same thing with everyone. At least it seems so,
Yeah.
right? Because I think they said CK did not have his high case because she didn't take the case he told her to take.
She didn't trust him. I
She
did.
didn't trust
Yeah.
him. Yes, but obviously he was telling her the right one because he said, this one is a no good. This is the one you want. She went for the other one. So I don't think Phillip did anything to help Letty, even though they were a very tight alliance.
Yeah.
Do you think he gave David the high case?
I do. I really
Okay.
believe that
We were
Phillip
talking about that before.
yeah, I really believe that he gave everyone the high case. The
Yeah.
same way I was like, you pick. I'm just going to tell you which one's the worst.
Yeah.
So yeah,
We both said the same. We think Phillip
Yeah.
took the high
I
road and
don't
gave
think
the
Phillip
high
could live
case.
with
Yeah.
himself
Yeah.
if he
Yeah.
did that.
But me and Craig wouldn't be mad if he didn't take the high road.
Right.
Exactly. I know. It's
That's
funny
it.
because you know what's so funny about these kinds of games, at least for me in this game, this is the only one I've played. There is a real test of your humanity in these games, right? Because while you're competitors, you can't get through the game without each other. You're
Mhm.
also completely separated from anything at all in your own life. Like we can't even listen to music,
Wow.
right? Like there is, I mean, no relationship connecting with anything in the outside world. When I got back, I thought Joe Biden died because I saw a thing that said Joe is gone.
Oh,
I didn't realize that Kamala had taken over clueless. Like we are disconnected. So as much as you want to win and as much as you compete with each other, it really takes you as a collective to
mhm.
make it through. It's kind of you against the challenge team who's making up these crazy challenges, and then you against the banker's luck, right? And so the only people you really have are the people who are sitting in that temple with you, because production, as wonderful as they are, it's like you're dead. They're just filming. They don't help you with anything. They just are filming. There's no like, you should try nothing. When I tell you nothing, I'm like, wow, guys, y'all really got us out here on an island for real.
I think I realized they don't do anything for the most part when CK fell off that beam and did like a
Girl,
scorpion and everyone
exactly.
just kind of stood there. I was like,
Everyone stood there.
Yes.
Hello. And
I'm
she had to make it through
yeah,
even with her injuries. They
That's
yeah,
just play
insane.
out. Honestly, I think it makes for great television, though.
it does. It does.
It
Yeah.
really does.
I had one quick CK
Sure.
question on that last one where they were holding the bags with their weight. Do
Yes.
you think it was an accident they dropped at the same time, her and Parvati, or do you think CK did it intentionally?
No, I think it was an accident because
I do
from
too.
what I saw,
Right.
Parvati didn't call out that she was going to let it go.
Hmm.
They were talking, talking, talking. And as CK was about to drop it, she said, I'm going to, and then Parvati dropped it at the same time. I
That's
think it
what I
was
saw
for
too.
accident because I don't think Parvati would have dropped it if she knew CK was.
Right.
Like she wants to be safe. I mean, she has played a
Yeah.
safe game all the way through. So I think it was a pure accident for sure.
I agree.
Because trust me, if it wasn't an accident, they would have made sure we saw that. The same way they showed us when CK pulled out the thing, but she looked, remember? They would have showed it.
That was such a small moment. They could have also let that slide and they didn't. So I think you're
No.
exactly right. Like, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. They would have showed it. That's the juicy stuff.
I'm looking at our time and I think we maybe have kept you a little too long. I'm so sorry, Lachey.
Fine, I'm fine. No worries. I made all the time in the world for you guys.
I appreciate it. We
Where
both
can
appreciate it so
Yeah,
much.
my
Yes, thank you
pleasure.
so much. Where can we see more of you from? Give us your socials. What
Oh,
upcoming
sure.
projects do you have?
Absolutely. I have tons of projects. So I myself am an actual life coach and a social worker. So I have my company is called Abandoned Ordinary Wellness. So you can find me. My website is abandonedordinary.life. I have a bunch of coaching programs that I just launched. It's very interesting how quickly people are responding to being in the program now that I've done the show. Usually it's like I'll post it and it'll be a little bit of time. People are on it, which is great because I live to help people live a better life. All my socials are either Abandoned Ordinary, like my TikTok is Abandoned Ordinary. Instagram is Shell Wooten, but if you type Abandoned Ordinary, you'll get it there as well. But go to my website, see what I'm doing, see how I can help you live a better life. That person you saw on this season is really who I am. I'm just
Yay.
here
Good.
trying to support humanity and being all that we can be and having all the fun along the way.
I love that. And your energy today was so nice. Thank you so much. And you gave us some information we didn't even know. And like I just appreciate your honesty and your openness. I know our viewers are gonna love this interview.
Fantastic. I loved it too. Thanks for having me.
Thank
Thank you so
you.
much,
You're
Michelle.
welcome. Talk to you soon,
Bye,
guys.
Michelle.
Bye. Thank
Bye
you.
bye.
Mia, before I let you go, I have to ask. We're finally gonna find out who the banker is, but who do you think the banker is this season?
You know what? I'm gonna have to go with my gut. Might be a little off. I think it's gonna be last season's winner, Jordan Fowler. Is that out there?
That
What do you think?
that would make complete sense because I was like, who would Howie give that power to? The winner from last season. Yeah. I was going more of like a female game show host.
Hmm.
And for some reason, Jane Lynch took over, I think, The Weakest Link.
Yeah.
And Jane is sassy, and the banker's been pretty sassy this season. So yeah, I think it's either Jane or another famous, well-known female game show host is where mind has been going.
You know what, Craig? You might not be too far off. I can totally picture Jane being on
Oh
in
yeah.
the Cliffhanger. I can
Oh
totally
yeah.
picture it 100%. This season had a lot of twists and a lot of turns, so I think we're probably going to be surprised.
We've been interviewing all the eliminated contestants this whole season, so please go to Hollywood Junket, follow, look at all those interviews. There's some really in-depth conversations, some stuff you did not know about the game, so go check those out. But until next time, me and I will see you next time.